I'm going to turn it over to Beth. Thanks so much, Beth.
Thanks, Jason. So I'm going to talk about two different organizations that overlap quite a bit. A lot of people get confused as to who does what, and it probably doesn't help that I'm involved with both. It just sort of adds to the confusion, but United Churches Elizabethtown area is what I'm going to start with. And then I'm going to talk about ECHOS. So if you have questions, you can just ask them as we go along. But like Jason said, putting them in the chat would be awesome. All right, so here we go. I'm going to share my screen. And hopefully this will work. What's that? I don't know if it's what it is.
Wait, I see. No, sorry. Well, the one that
this one.
Yeah.
Must be that one. Right? We'll hope that that's the right one. And from the
Scroll through all your slides. Wait, this is the ending of it?
This is the end. I wanted to share from the beginning.
Is this the one that has everything? 19 slides?
Yes. All right.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Starting with United Churches Elizabethtown area. This is an organization of as many churches in the Elizabethtown area that would like to participate. We work together to help people in our community. When we see needs, we try to respond to those needs. So our church has a couple delegates that we send to the delegate council meetings, and that is myself and Donna McDonough, and Pastor Pam is our pastoral rep. So the delegate council meets up to 6 times a year and makes like the major decisions, but we're led by a board of directors, and I am on that board. I'm the secretary of that board. And the other people on the board are Derek McDonald, the president, Susan Fritz, the vice president, Kay Ardner's treasurer, and Doug Lamb is the chaplain, and I believe he is on our call with us today because he's going to help me if I miss something or if you have other questions that I can't answer. And then we also have Nanette Lamb, who is at large. And then we have some different committees. And if you are interested, we could definitely use more help. There's just a pretty small group of us, and we're doing a lot, and it keeps expanding. So any help would be greatly appreciated. So we have some different programs with United Churches. The one that people are most familiar with in our community is the Community Cupboard Food Pantry. And our church does a lot to help supply their needs. They're open Wednesdays and Saturdays for clients to come and shop. Clients can come once per month. They have to make an appointment. And there's typically over 160 different families that come and shop at the cupboard each month. They get to choose the food that they want, so it's called a choice food pantry. It just means that they get to pick the food that their family will eat. Some food pantries give just a basket of food or a box of food, but ours, we let the people shop, and so that they get the food that they want and that their family will eat. The needs that they have right now is they really could use some more volunteers, particularly with COVID. A lot of their volunteers that they had were more high risk for COVID, and so they've lost some of their volunteers. Over the summer, they had a lot of teachers and stuff volunteering, but now of course they are busy back at school. So they could use more volunteers, and then fruit, veggies, crackers, toiletries and cleaning supplies, and reusable cloth masks for any of you who like to make masks. They could use some more. And you can just contact Melissa at the cupboard there if you are interested, or you can always just send me an email or call me and I can get you connected. Another program that United Churches runs is Meals on Wheels. They deliver a hot and cold meal weekdays to those who are homebound. And it's very inexpensive. There's about 15 to 20 clients in the Elizabethtown area that receive these meals, and they could use more food delivery drivers. Again, with COVID, some of their drivers had to step back. They have redone the way that they do the deliveries, so it really does reduce any risk of you don't really contact the clients necessarily. You just more drop it off on their porch and ring the doorbell and just make sure that they pick it up. So it's really a pretty easy volunteer position. Takes about 2 hours a day, and then you don't have to do it. I mean, you do it maybe once a month or a couple times a month. And Carol Fayola is the person who is in charge of our Meals on Wheels. We also run the clothing barn. It is the red building that is on our property. Clients have to have a voucher to shop, and that's actually a picture of the clothing barn. We added that to our campus last summer. And I would say since we added it to our campus last summer and over the winter, we probably had maybe 100 people a month coming through there and shopping. Now, since COVID, we had to stop operations for a while, but we've resumed, and now you just have to make an appointment to come in. So that way they only have one family at a time that comes in there. And clients have to have a voucher, which you can get from the pastors or the school or the community cupboard or from ECHOS, and then make an appointment for that. And since we've started that, I think a lot of people just aren't aware that it is open again, because there haven't been a lot of clients that come through the clothing barn. And then some of their needs is they could really use coats and boots, particularly with the winter and the colder weather coming up. Sneakers, jeans, and new socks and underwear are always something that they need. And then now the biggest really program of United Churches is Community Place on Washington. So 2 years ago, we purchased the old St. Peter's School, and before that, Etown Church of the Brethren building over on 61 East Washington Street. And we have turned it into a social service complex. It's long been a dream of United Churches to have one place where lots of social service agencies could join together and just offer a place for people who have needs to just be able to come to one building and be able to get lots of different services. So in our Community Place on Washington social service complex, we have the community cupboard is on the lower level. The clothing barn is in the rear of the building, and it's a separate building out back. The ECHOS Winter Shelter is in the white building next to this regular building. ECHOS offices are in there. Elizabethtown Area Communities That Care offices. They do VITA tax services. We have Tabor Financial Services, where they offer financial counseling to people in the area. CareerLink comes and does job resumes and job applications and helping people with interviewing skills. The Literacy Council does adult education classes. We have a computer lab, and let's say we have outgrown our space. So the next plan is to build an additional building on the property. So right where the playground used to be, if you've been by there recently, you may have noticed that the playground equipment is gone now. Because in the next couple of weeks, we will be breaking ground. We had a groundbreaking event on September 11 to build this new building. And it is going to be a 2-story building with a basement. And it's going to have room for a lot more services. So it'll have an expanded winter shelter. If any of you have volunteered with the winter shelter, you know that it's pretty cramped in that white building. So the new building will offer more winter shelter space. It'll have more space for ECHOS offices. It'll have enhanced enrichment services. So for people who have different needs, we plan to have more organizations in the building, maybe some laundry services, some more bigger computer lab, just places for people to come and get basic things that they need each day. There'll be apartments on the second floor that ECHOS will be overseeing, and there'll be a larger meeting room, and then of course we are keeping additional space so that we don't outgrow it immediately, and we'd love to be able to have a dental clinic or other services in that building as well. So the needs for Community Place on Washington, we offer all of those different agencies that use our space. They license the space from us, so they do pay for their space, but it's a very reduced cost. So we try to make it as cost effective as possible. So United Churches pays to keep the lights on and utilities for the building, and obviously the grounds work and everything. So there's a definite need there for contributions to just keep the building open and running. We have a big need for a campus manager. This is a part-time position, just for somebody who would be able to respond to calls saying, the shower in the winter shelter is not working properly, or the toilet is clogged, and just somebody to call and get. We have lots of volunteers who will help with these things, but we just need somebody to manage that and coordinate it. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. And then phase 2 financing. So obviously it's going to cost a lot of money to make our new building. We have received a community development block grant from Lancaster County Redevelopment Authority for more than $700,000, which is awesome. It's 3 different grants that we got between United Churches and ECHOS to help with the building of that. And then we are also going to be selling church bonds through Great Nation, which is a subsidiary of Stifel. And I'm going to let Doug Lamb talk about those church bonds, if he, I believe, is on the call with us.
I saw him. I'm going to see if,
Okay.
make sure there's nothing I have to do to unmute you, Doug.
Are we there?
Yeah, there we
I
go.
hear ya.
Hey.
Okay. So it's been a little bit of this whole project, and you've done a great job, Beth, in describing these little details. It's been a real journey of faith. One idea initially was just to do a capital campaign, borrow the money, and build the building, and then just pay down the debt. The problem with United Churches is we've been a lemonade stand for too many years. And when you go to be a Kmart, nobody wants to loan you money. So we came up with the church bond idea, I think, a year into our project, and decided to go with Stifel. They were interested in us. And everything was approved. We were ready to move forward with the bonds, and Stifel made a, I guess, logistical and financial decision that our loan was too small. And so we are scrambling over the last month and a half, working with, as Beth described, one of their partners that they work with, Great Nation. And the way it works is we go out to the area churches and church members in our community, and we offer bonds that they can purchase, starting at $1,000 up to, $150,000, whatever they want to buy. And we pay them a much greater interest rate than what they're getting on their local CDs and through their banks. And those bonds will help us get the money up front to fill out the rest that the grants are not going to pay for. And Great Nation has been working with us, getting the paperwork in order that needs to be submitted to the Department of Revenue here at the state. It has to be registered, and once it's registered and approved, we can begin selling those bonds. We think they will go pretty fast. It's probably in the neighborhood of $1.4 to $1.5 million of bonds. If you're earning 2.5% to 3.5% interest, it may be something that you're interested in doing. Those bonds should become available, if everything works well, sometime in November. That's our goal. That's not necessarily under our control because of the Department of Revenue, but that's our interest. So we'll be having a meeting again to inform churches and individuals in our community of this offer sometime in the next 3 to 4 weeks, I would suspect. I don't know the exact dates yet, but we will have a lot of answers and some representatives from Great Nation there to answer people's questions. But it is relatively a new program to Pennsylvania. And we think it's pretty exciting because it gives people an opportunity to invest in the kingdom and bless our town, but also earn more interest than what you're earning right now with your usual CDs and bonds that you might have. So I hope that's understandable.
Mhm.
If anybody has questions, I mean, we could answer them now, or we could wait to the end. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, so that's the end of the United Churches portion of it. So I think we should open it up for questions right now, just for, I don't know, 5 minutes or so, if there's any questions.
Beth, there's a question here in the chat I wanted to ask real quick. It says, until the new building is available, will social distancing require reducing the number of people who can stay in the winter shelter?
Yes, and that is part of my next the next presentation, but yes,
Okay.
we will have to, well, we won't be able to have as many people in the shelter, which means that for the first time ever, we might have to turn people away, which it's not something we're happy about, but it's just the way it is right now.
Okay. Don, did you have a question?
Yes, I have a question about the membership in the United Churches. How many churches actually are members, and which ones? I'm just curious. Is this 2 or 3 churches or 3 dozen churches, and which ones?
Okay, good question. I would say that there are, I don't know, 10 to 12 that are really actively participating. So that's our church, St. Paul's, Lifegate, Christ Lutheran, Bosler Mennonite, Hope Community Church, Etown Mennonite, Etown Bick, Stevens Hill, Christ Church UCC, and Mount Calvary.
Now, there is, to answer that question a little more detail, there's 3 ways you can be involved. And Beth is probably describing the ones that are sending delegates, who are supporting financially. One of the people that support us, one of the churches that support us financially would be Trinity Full Gospel. Every month they're donating towards the debt service fund that we set up a 1.5 years ago, and your church does as well, as part of this securing bonds. So if you add in all the churches who send money but maybe don't have delegates, who may not send volunteers, but other churches send volunteers but don't send delegates, it comes to a total of 26 churches. But not everybody participates on that committed level that Beth's describing, which, we want everybody to get more involved, but there are a lot of other churches that might come on a work day and help us out, or do a food drive for peanut butter and jelly and help out with the cupboard, but they don't send us delegates, or they don't get involved in maybe other ways.
Yeah, that's true. And what we've been hearing from from different outside organizations is that they're really impressed. Like, churches don't usually get along so well to combine efforts together to do something like this. So we think it's an awesome, I mean, this is what the church should be doing. So I think it's terrific.
Yeah, I can follow that up, Beth.
Yeah, go ahead, Doug.
At our groundbreaking last Friday, the county people came to me and said, you know, you guys really are unique here. We don't see communities this well unified working together for a project like this. And they're pretty encouraged by that.
Beth, I'm wondering, is there an active recruitment program for recruiting other churches?
So we just we send emails out pretty regularly. We talk to different churches. Like Doug runs the Etown Ministerium, and so there are churches that participate with the Ministerium that don't necessarily participate with United Churches. But I mean, so they do, but they don't. So he's always encouraging them to get more involved.
Yeah, and I would say that we picked up, Beth, probably 4 or 5 churches in the last 2 years that were never involved before.
Yeah.
Mount Calvary is a good example. Mount Calvary never participated with much of anything with the ministerium. That pastor changed in June of 2018, came into the community, and one of the first things he did is visit our campus that we just started to remodel and wanted to know what we were doing on Washington Street. So they now participate. Elizabeth Lerno is I don't know if I think she's a delegate.
She is.
And so we're watching that expand. But yes, there actually is a committee with United Churches called the Church Relations, and I'm on that. And to be honest, I don't have the time I did back in 2018 to be doing that as much, especially now. But we're going to continue that effort. And that's a good question. How do you keep it on the forefront of other churches to get them more involved?
Yeah. That's why we need more help.
Many hands, right? Make light
Yes,
work.
right.
Another question here, are the social services done by volunteer professionals, and what services are offered? I know you ran through a little bit of a list.
Yeah, so I mean, some of them are volunteers. A lot of them are organizations, not necessarily volunteers. So I would say there's a definite mix of volunteers and paid positions that run the social services. And we're always looking for new people to come in, right? Because once we build phase 2, like right now, most of the second floor of the current brick building is ECHOS offices. Well, ECHOS offices are all going to move to the new building. So then we're going to have space there for other organizations to come in. So we're looking for more people to come in, more social service organizations. So if you know of anybody who's currently doesn't have space in Etown, you know, we'd love to bring them on. Or if they want to just, you know, use even just like one day a week, like that's what Tabor does, and CareerLink comes one day a month. So we just have places that people can come and offer different programs on a regular basis.
Beth, you mentioned a dental clinic. Are there any medical services projected or you would like to have?
So we were hoping that Hope Within was starting a dental clinic, and they were planning on doing a dental clinic in our new space. They've been having problems with the dental clinic that they're trying to, they now have one dental seat out at their current location, and they're having a very hard time getting hygienists to come, volunteer hygienists to come and work with patients. So they're not sure that they're going to be able to have a dental clinic. So we're looking at other options, because right now, I don't know if you, I mean, you know this, but the only place that people with no insurance can go for dental work is Lancaster City. There's no place around in our area. So we'd really love to be able to have some sort of dental clinic. But we have the space for it, so we just need to get the people in.
Now, if he asked if we would do medical as well, with Hope Within right up the street, basically, you know, a couple miles out of town, we don't want to compete with other providers either. So we would want to talk through that and figure out how to make that work. But
Yeah.
some people can't get 2 or 3 miles uptown. They'd rather walk to a place for medical treatment. So those are things that we're open to. We just have to kind of figure out how it would work.
Yeah, and it is a problem that you can't get the bus to Hope Within, so.
Right.
Another question here is what is the relationship between ECCC, which is the Elizabethtown Child Care Center, and United Churches? Is there any relationship there?
Yeah, so actually, United Churches' very first project that's how the United Churches got started in 1969. They recognized a need for childcare in Elizabethtown and created Etown Child Care Center. Since then, it has become independent, so it is no longer a program of United Churches, but originally it was.
Great. I have a question here. I think will be more as we transition into the ECHOS question, but maybe if you can think about this. It says, could you speak more about the transitional apartments? You provide a variety of services that people using the apartments could use. Will there someone be coordinating those services for the families on the BHA model?
Yes. Yeah. So right now, ECHOS has a couple different housing programs. And with the new building, they're hoping to put 5, maybe 6 apartments on the second floor there. And they will be, it's not just low income. You can't just get an apartment there and stay there, but it will be more like, we're going to get you into this apartment, and then it's going to be an interim step between this and your quote unquote permanent housing. So yeah, that ECHOS plans to have some more apartments there to help with their housing programs. And then they'll work alongside the people to get into a more permanent place. I hope that answers the question.
That's all the questions that I have in the chat.
Okay, awesome. So let's move on to the ECHOS portion of the presentation. So ECHOS stands for Elizabethtown Community Housing and Outreach Services. And Doug, if you want to leave, I thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I'll stay in case.
Okay.
You know.
You can
If
hang
have
around,
more
Doug, but
questions about either.
Yeah, I wanted to
That's
add
awesome.
that I just wanted to thank you for all the energy and effort you have put behind these. You've been a real force behind getting a lot of this done. So just wanted to say thanks.
Yes.
Well, I'll be honest, without Beth, we wouldn't be doing anything, because she kind of is the glue that holds us together with all the little details. She's now a bid packet manager, so she's enjoying that job.
That is true. Okay.
But thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. So ECHOS, I work, just so you know, I work part-time as the administrative assistant for ECHOS. So that's my connection there. So ECHOS has been in existence for 4 years now. This graph shows they started actually in July of 2016. In 2015, a group of people in Elizabethtown recognized a need for a winter shelter. It was found that a father and his son were sleeping in the park, and that's when we realized, hey, there is a homeless problem in Elizabethtown. Nobody had realized that before. So they started doing a winter shelter. And then in 2016, ECHOS was formed. And at that point, it was a staff of 1, which was Deb Jones. And it has expanded. Let's say just Deb Jones is a person who works at 150% all the time. She sees a need and she goes after it. It's inspiring and it's intimidating at the same time trying to work for her. She's amazing. So we have expanded now. So from that staff of 1 4 years ago, we are now a staff of 15 plus 2 college interns. So the services that we offer, we still have the winter shelter, obviously. We do eviction prevention to try to keep people in their homes. We do enrichment services, which is mainly information and referral, just trying to get people connected to the resources that they need to be connected to. Just this year, we started youth crisis counseling. So we now have an ECHOS counselor in the Elizabethtown area middle and high schools. And she is there full time to respond to concerns about suicidal ideation or self-harm in the schools. We piloted this program last school year, and it was supposed to be for, I don't know, I think they said 70 hours or something like that. And we had expended that entire thing within 2 months. So we saw a definite need there. And so we've expanded it this year into a full-time position. We have community education where we offer different classes and stuff to the community. A job readiness program. We have an AmeriCorps Vista person who is doing stuff with job readiness. The computer lab that we utilize, that we allow people to use, allows them to do different programs and stuff to get ready for jobs. They can do applications, they can do different classes to improve their skills, they can do resume building. And then our housing programs. We have coordinated assessment, which works alongside people who are homeless. Permanent supportive housing, which is like a housing program that works alongside of people with disabilities to keep them permanently housed. We have the Pathways program, which just helps people with rent and staying in, trying to get them to be able to stay where they're housed. And then Bridge House 90, which is a crisis housing program where people can stay for, it's 30 days, but then it is renewable twice. So you can stay a total of 90 days. And we have 2 apartments for that right now. So since we started in July of 2016, ECHOS has served over 2,000 individuals in Elizabethtown. So it's mainly Elizabethtown, Bainbridge, Reams, Mount Joy, Marietta, and Maytown that we offer our programs. So I mainly want to talk about the winter shelter because we're gearing up for that. It will start December 7 this year and runs through April 2nd. So just over the past 5 years that the shelter has been running, you see we have a pretty steady increase of people each year. So last shelter season, we had 61 guests throughout the shelter season, which included 12 children. And so obviously, like we noticed, like I noted earlier, with COVID, we will have a decrease in numbers, and that's not because the need is less necessarily, but because our capacity is less.
Hey, Beth.
Yes.
Is that going to be true as well for Water Street and other places? Will they be able or have to take less people?
Probably.
So that'll make it an impact, countywide.
I would assume that would be the case because it's just a matter of how many people you can put into a space
Yeah.
to allow, for social distancing and stuff. And those of you who've worked in our shelter know that social distancing is going to be a huge problem. It's the first floor of the white building that you see here. That's the shelter. So there's not a whole lot of room. Before we had a capacity of 30, which thank goodness we've never actually gotten to 30 because it's really crowded, but we're gonna have to go with maybe 15 this year. And we've definitely had more than 15 people. So, so like I said, our shelter runs from December through April, and it's just an overnight shelter. So our guests come between 6:30 and 8 p.m. They check in, they get a hot dinner, and then they can take a shower, relax a little, and then lights out is around 9:30. And then they have to get up and out in the morning. They have to leave by 8 a.m. They'll get a breakfast in the morning. They get a to-go bag which has lunch and snacks and stuff in it. It's a low barrier shelter, which means that there are really no requirements for people to stay there. ECHOS philosophy is housing first. So we say that people really are not in a place where they can really do much of anything until they know that they have a warm, safe place to sleep. So that's kind of their philosophy. They have a behavior contract that they're supposed to sign and abide by. And there's a security check when they come in every evening, just to make sure that they don't have any banned substances or anything that would be something that would be not safe to have in the shelter. And then case management is offered to all of the clients, but they don't have to accept those services to stay at the shelter. So to run the shelter, we need 73 volunteers each week. That's just with the different shelter positions that we have. So every night we need volunteers to help check people in. And so they will do the security checks. They'll help with getting dinner served. They'll help with just, overseeing everything and making sure that people sign up to use the shower and et cetera, and get ready for bed and get their space set up and everything. And then we have 2 overnight volunteers that stay for the whole night, and they trade off sleeping in 4-hour shifts. So one of them will sleep and the other one will stay up just to monitor the activity there. And then we have a crew of morning cleanup people who help come in and feed breakfast and just get everybody up and out the door by 8 in the morning and kind of clean things up. And then we have meals, people who will make meals for us. And this year we're trying to get away from the frozen meals, and we want to have more hot and ready meals. We think that's with COVID and everything, we just think that's a better, safer way just to feed everybody, get everybody a hot meal, and then they can come do their meal and then spread out more throughout the shelter instead of all congregating in the kitchen area. We need people to help clean the shelter. We're going to be doing even more cleaning than we have in the past, again, because of COVID. And we need people to do laundry, and of course need people to donate supplies. All right, I have a video that I want to show you for the shelter. Let's start this.
Hello, I'm Chrissy Raffensperger, Winter Shelter Coordinator at Elizabethtown Community Housing and Outreach Services, or ECHOS. This has been a challenging time, but throughout the pandemic, ECHOS has worked with those experiencing homelessness or those at risk of experiencing homelessness. To continue to serve our community, we will be entering our 6th winter shelter season. Last year, we served over 61 individuals and had over 2,000 bed nights. The winter shelter is a vital service for those experiencing homelessness, now more than ever. The mission of our shelter is to provide a warm, safe, quiet place to spend the night. We will be following all CDC and state guidelines with regards to COVID-19 in order to uphold the safety of our staff, volunteers, and guests. If you would like to volunteer with us, please visit our website at echoslancaster.org/get-involved to fill out our volunteer application. A follow-up email will be sent with further information on requirements, trainings, signups, and more. Each week we need over 73 volunteers to run the shelter. We are hopeful to get the commitment of 2 to 4 shifts each month, December 7th through April 2nd, from 200 community members. This amazing group of people can be transformative as they help our guests on their journey to stability. So I'd like to invite you to the winter shelter this season. And now I'd like you to hear from our volunteers.
I decided to volunteer because I moved in this area about 5 years ago, and I just wanted to do something to give back to the community.
The thing that surprised me the most is how attached I got to our guests. I thought I would be coming in and maybe checking them in, getting them a hot meal, but it's so much deeper than that.
Community members should volunteer because it's their community and these people are part of the community.
Because it's a worthwhile project, investing yourself into other people's lives, making a difference in their lives and helping them to grow.
I think it's important to help. I think the people who wind up coming here, they deserve the same peace and security and ability to flourish that we all have.
We'd love to have you on board, and more experienced volunteers such as myself and also the staff members would be happy to show you the ropes or all around the shelter and introduce you to the various tasks that we do. And we'd love to have you on board, so we look forward to seeing you this fall.
Hi, Beth. I have a couple questions.
Go ahead, sorry. All right, you can ask your question.
What is the age range of your
John, I think you muted yourself. Sorry.
Okay, what is the age range of the people that come to the shelter, and are they homeless, or where do they go when they leave in the morning?
Okay, so the age range is, we had people, we had an infant, and then obviously they were there with their parents, but up to people in their 70s. And yes, they are homeless, that they must be homeless in order to stay at our shelter. And during the day, we hope that they are out looking for jobs or, but we just don't have the capacity to keep people all day. Since we're completely volunteer run, we're not able to have people stay with us the whole day. So they go out into the community during the day. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that's amazing.
Are there other questions about the shelter? So this is my last slide, and I would be remiss if I did not mention that there is a big fundraising event this week for ECHOS. It's their 30 and 3 giving event, which starts on Tuesday, September 22nd through Thursday, September 24th. And they're trying to raise $30,000 in 3 days. Normally, this would have been, the 24th would have been the second annual One Community, Many Neighbors celebration that ECHOS would have had, but we had to cancel it because of the pandemic. So ECHOS is trying to fill in the fundraising gap by having this event, this virtual event this week.
Beth,
Yes.
I see a question here in the chat. It is specifically about individuals with disabilities. The question is, I'm particularly interested in your housing opportunities for person with disabilities. Is this staffed or strictly for independent living? And do you work with or licensed by the Office of Disabilities Program or any other agency?
It is independent living. Just to qualify for this program, and you would work with they do work with one of our social workers, but a member of the family must have a disability in order to qualify for the program. I don't know if that helps or not, but it's not, there's nobody there regularly. Like she'll check in with them at least once a week, but not every day. So they would have to be independent.
Another question here is, so if Etown is a good model of church cooperation, why not consider broadening out and consider building something that would look like United Religions of Etown, possibly more help from people whose faith causes them to care for people? So I guess this is a question about the inclusivity of other faith traditions in community work.
Yeah. we want to keep the churches that we have involved helping, so
Yep.
we can only extend it so far before it starts to break down, right? I think if we did that, it might exclude. I don't know how to answer that question.
Yeah. There's a question here about do you work with local authorities to provide public services, such as seeing if a bus line could set up to go to the medical clinic a couple miles away? I guess maybe what's your relationship with local authorities in the municipality?
I mean, we've been petitioning to have the bus go further for quite some time. Hasn't made a whole lot of difference yet, but we have a very good relationship with the municipal, the borough office and the police department and the different organizations in the Etown area. We work closely with them.
Great. We have a few minutes left, so maybe a good place to, and I think you've done this. You've outlined a number of places that with needs and places that individuals can help. But is there any kind of final parting words you want to offer? Because I know that there are people who are always interested in being able to help. What are some of the ways that that you might think that this faith community or others who watch this could be supportive of UCEA or ECHOS?
Just get involved. There's so many ways to get involved. I think there's really something for everybody. If you don't want to have, personal contact, you can make meals, you can do cleaning, you can donate items. There's really there's a way to get involved for everybody out there, and it takes everybody. It takes so many volunteers to make all of these things happen. So
great. There's a question here specifically about donating clothing for the clothing barn. Where can that happen, or how does someone go about doing that? And then also, do you need donations of bedding, such as sheets and blankets?
So we don't need donations of bedding right now. We have a good supply of that. But clothing can be donated any day, Monday through Friday. There is a clothing bin. If you go just inside the main entrance, which is in the back of the building, there's a bin right inside the door there where you can drop off clothing. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. until 4 p.m.
Great.
Can I ask in reference to clothing, Beth, is there anything in particular that's needed right now?
Coats, boots, jeans, sneakers, and then new socks and underwear.
Can I comment just briefly?
Sure.
One of the things that I tell pastors through the ministerium is that your church may not know how to reach out to homeless people, or you may not have a large congregation, and so you don't do specific, work projects. So our campus and ECHOS and the providers there open the door for any size church to connect regularly with the community in a way that they normally couldn't by volunteering in some capacity, whether it's making meals or coming over to do some painting or yard work, or so we've even used people in the community to help with our GED classes, retired teachers or people that know, you don't even have to have a degree, but you're willing to work one-on-one with a student and help them, mentor them, or tutor them. So there's this whole campus has opened the opportunity for every church to get involved in a way they normally wouldn't be able to, because they don't have the staff or the size congregation to organize that kind of an event.
All right, well, we've reached the end of our time together. So I just wanted to say thanks again to Beth and Doug for taking the time to share about some of the important things that are happening in our community, for providing some of the leadership that you provide. And hopefully we'll continue to think about the different ways that we can support all this stuff. So thanks a lot.
Thanks, Jason. And if anybody has more questions or anything, please feel free to contact me.
All right. Well, take care, everyone. We will see you maybe in the live stream for worship, or next week, Eric Bishop will be joining us. So take care.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.